Okay, I'm on a roll. Genesis. Oh no, totally forgot. Reading through the Bible. Genesis. We're on Genesis 42. Yeah, Genesis 42 and Mark 5. Oh, I don't remember. We'll figure it out. But yeah, I was gonna give an. I'm. Never mind. I don't know what I was gonna say. I'm just gonna read the Bible, and let's do Genesis 42. Okay, get positioned here. Okay, Genesis 42. When Jacob saw that there were food rations to be had in Egypt, he said to his sons, oh, hold on a sec. It's interesting because I think I mentioned in a video that, God changed Jacob's name to Israel, and I mistakenly said that throughout the Bible then he would be referred to as Israel, but that's not true because I guess it goes back and forth. Sometimes he's referred to as Jacob and sometimes Israel. But so in chapter 42 he's referred to as Jacob, even though his name was changed by God to Israel. Okay, take two. Genesis 42. What what would happen if I read in my funny voices, but I won't do that. Okay, chapter 42. When Jacob saw that there were food rations to be had in Egypt, he said to his sons, why do you keep looking at one another? Now I hear, he went on, that there are rations to be had in Egypt. Go down and procure rations for us there, that we may live and not die. So 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to get grain rations in Egypt. For Jacob did not send Joseph's brother Benjamin with his brothers, since he feared that he might meet with disaster. Thus the sons of Israel were among those who came to procure rations, for the famine extended to the land of Canaan. Now Joseph was the gosh, I don't know this word either. Pardon me, that's me, not the Bible. Vizier. Sometimes I feel really illiterate. I do have a master's degree. I have a master's degree in exegetical theology, but that doesn't mean anything because I can't pronounce certain words. And then I just feel really dumb. Anyway, not about me. Let's go on to the Bible. Okay, so where am I? Okay. Let's just start with verse 5. Thus the sons of Israel were among those who came to procure rations, for the famine extended to the land of Canaan. Now Joseph was the vizier of the land. It was he who dispensed rations to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brothers came and bowed low to him with their faces to the ground. When Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them, but he acted like a stranger toward them and spoke harshly to them. He asked them, where do you come from? And they said, from the land of Canaan to procure food. For though Joseph recognized his brothers, they did not recognize him. Recalling the dreams that he had dreamed about them, Joseph said to them, you are spies. You have come to see the land in its nakedness. But they said to him, no, my lord. Truly your servants have come to procure food. We are all of us sons of the same man. We are honest men. Your servants have never been spies. And he said to them, no, you have come to see the land in its nakedness. And they replied, we your servants were 12 brothers, sons of a certain man in the land of Canaan. The youngest however, is now with our father, and one is no more. But Joseph said to them, It is just as I have told you. You are spies. By this you shall be put to the test. Unless your youngest brother comes here, by Pharaoh you shall not depart from this place. Let one of you go and bring your brother, while the rest of you remain confined, that your words may be put to the test, whether there is truth in you. Else by Pharaoh you are nothing but spies. And he confined them in the guardhouse for 3 days. On the 3rd day, Joseph said to them, Do this, and you shall live, for I am a God-fearing man. If you are honest men, let one of you, brothers, be held in your place of detention, while the rest of you go and take home rations for your starving households. But you must bring me your youngest brother, that your words may be verified, and that you may not die. And they did accordingly. They said to one another, Alas, we're being punished on account of our brother, because we looked on at his anguish, yet paid no heed as he pleaded with us. This is why this distress has come upon us. Then Reuben spoke up and said to them, Did I not tell you, do no wrong to the boy? But you paid no heed. Now comes the reckoning for his blood. They did not know that Joseph understood, for there was an interpreter between him and them. He turned away from them and wept. But he came back to them and spoke to them, and he took Simeon from among them and had him bound before their eyes. Then Joseph gave orders to fill their bags with grain, return each one's money to his sack, and give them provisions for the journey, and this was done for them. So they loaded their asses with the rations and departed from there. As one of them was opening his sack to give feed to his ass at the right encampment, he saw his money right there at the mouth of his bag. And he said to his brothers, My money has been returned. It is here in my bag. Their hearts sank, and trembling, they turned to one another, saying, What is this that God has done to us? When they came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan, they told him that all that had befallen them, saying, The man who is Lord of the land spoke harshly to us and accused us of spying on the land. We said to him, We are honest men, we have never been spies. There were 12 of us brothers, sons by the same father, but one is no more, and the youngest is now with our father in the land of Canaan. But the man who is Lord of the land said to us, By this I shall know that you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers with me, and take something for your starving households, and be off. And bring your youngest brother to me, that I may know that you are not spies, but honest men. I will then restore your brother to you, and you shall be free to move about in the land. As they were emptying their sacks, there in each one's sack was his money bag. When they and their father saw their money bags, they were dismayed. Their father Jacob said to them, It is always me that you bereave. Joseph is no more, and Simeon is no more, and now you would take away Benjamin? These things always happen to me. Then Reuben said to his father, You may kill my 2 sons if I do not bring him back to you. Put him in my care, and I will return him to you. But he said, My son must not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he alone is left. If he meets with disaster on the journey you are taking, you will send my white head down to Sheol in grief. It's the end of chapter 42. Well, that's intense. Interesting. Okay, well, let's move on to sit with that. I'll sit with that. Okay, Mark, now for the New Testament, Mark chapter 6. Jesus left there and went to his hometown, accompanied by his disciples. When the Sabbath came, he began to teach in the synagogue, and many who heard him were amazed. Where did this man get these things? They asked. What's this wisdom that has been given him? What are these remarkable miracles he is performing? Isn't this the carpenter? Isn't this Mary's son and the brother of James, Joseph, Judas, and Simeon? Aren't his sisters here with us?" And they took offense at him. Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor except in his own home, among his relatives, and in his own home." He could not do any miracles there except lay his hands on a few sick people and heal them. He was amazed at their lack of faith. Then Jesus went around teaching from village to village, calling the 12 to him. He began to send them out 2 by 2 and gave them authority over impure spirits. These were his instructions. "Take nothing for the journey except a staff, no bread, no bag, no money in your belts. Wear sandals, but not an extra shirt. Whenever you enter a house, stay there until you leave that town. And if any place will not welcome you or listen to you, leave that place and shake the dust off your feet as a testimony against them." They went out and preached that people should repent. They drove out many demons and anointed many sick people with oil and healed them. King Herod heard about this, for Jesus' name had become well known. Some were saying, "John the Baptist has been raised from the dead, and that is why miraculous powers are at work in him." Others said, "He is Elijah." And still others claimed, "He is a prophet, like one of the prophets of long ago." But when Herod heard this, he said, "John, whom I beheaded, has been raised from the dead." For Herod himself had given orders to have John arrested, and he had him bound and put in prison. He did this because of Herodias, his brother, Philip's wife, whom he had married. For John had been saying to Herod, "It's not lawful for you to have your brother's wife." So Herodias nursed a grudge against John and wanted to kill him, but she was not able to, because Herod feared John and protected him, knowing him to be a righteous and holy man. When Herod heard John, he was greatly puzzled, yet he liked to listen to him. Finally, the opportune time came on his birthday. Herod gave a banquet for his high officials and military commanders and the leading men of Galilee. When the daughter of Herodias came in and danced, she pleased Herod and his dinner guests. The king said to the girl, "Ask me for anything you want, and I'll give it to you." And he promised her with an oath, "Whatever you ask, I will give you, up to half my kingdom." She went out and said to her mother, "What shall I ask for?" "The head of John the Baptist," she answered. At once the girl hurried in to the king with the request, "I want you to give me right now the head of John the Baptist on a platter." The king was greatly distressed, but because of his oaths and his dinner guests, he did not want to refuse her, so he immediately sent an executioner with orders to bring John's head. The man went, beheaded John in the prison, and brought back his head on a platter. He presented it to the girl, and she gave it to her mother. On hearing of this, John's disciples came and took his body and laid it in a tomb. The apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to him all that they had done and taught. Then, because so many people were coming and going that they did not even have a chance to eat, he said to them, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." So they went away by themselves in a boat to a solitary place. But many who saw them leaving recognized them and ran on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many things. By this time it was late in the day, so his disciples came to him. "This is a remote place," they said, "and it's already very late. Send the people away so that they can go to the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat." But he answered, "You give them something to eat." They said to him, "That would take more than half a year's wages. Are we to go and spend that much on bread and give it to them to eat?" "How many loaves do you have?" he asked. "Go and see." When they found out, they said, "5 and 2 fish." Then Jesus directed them to have all the people sit down in groups on the green grass. So they sat down in groups of hundreds and fifties. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to his disciples to distribute to the people. He also divided the 2 fish among them all. They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces of bread and fish. The number of the men who had eaten was 5,000. Immediately Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to Bethsaida. While he dismissed the crowd, after leaving them, he went up on a mountainside to pray. Later that night, the boat was in the middle of the lake, and he was alone on land. He saw the disciples straining at the oars because the wind was against them. Shortly before dawn, he went out to them, walking on the lake. He was about to pass by them, but when they saw him walking on the lake, they thought he was a ghost. They cried out because they all saw him and were terrified. Immediately he spoke to them and said, "Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid." Then he climbed into the boat with them, and the wind died down. They were completely amazed, for they had not understood about the loaves. Their hearts were hardened. When they had crossed over, they landed at Gennesaret and anchored there. As soon as they got out of the boat, people recognized Jesus. They ran throughout that whole region and carried the sick on mats to wherever they heard he was. And wherever he went, into villages, towns, or countryside, they placed the sick in the marketplaces. They begged him to let them touch even the edge of his cloak, and all who touched it were healed. The end of Mark chapter 6. I'm just going to, this is like a little study note in the Bible. It's not the Bible, but it's like a little study note. It's a word study on the word carpenter. In Greek, that is tekton. It says, tekton is a generic term that means builder. Ancient tektons worked with stone, wood, or metal. Most of the construction in Galilee would have been stonework, but perhaps Jesus built boats or shaped farming tools. The tiny village of Nazareth, with a population of 150 to 200 people, could not have supported consistent work. The neighboring city of Sepphoris, the first capital city of Herod Antipas, was only a few miles from Nazareth. Sepphoris had plenty of building projects when Jesus was a boy, and may have been one of the places Jesus worked. Jesus was likely a lower-class day laborer. The Mishnah says, "Love labor and hate mastery, and seek not acquaintance with the ruling power." Okay, that's a little study note from the NIV First Century Study Bible, with notes by Kent Dobson. All right. Well, that's the Bible reading for today. All right, everyone. God bless. Bye.